Hey, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Political Deep Dive this evening. Um, uh, we're having issues getting some people on. I know Emily's having issues trying to get in, so right now it's just me, and we'll talk about some issues. If you want to join us, send us a comment or anything like that. I'll be happy to address those. But this week, this is our last week under our Facebook ban. So next week we'll be returning. What I will not be doing next week is posting this to my personal page. We'll start moving everything over to the Political Deep Dive podcast page, all one word on Facebook. So if you're not a member of that group, feel free to join that group, and we'll get you that information. Have the live stream going to that starting next week. Once again, a massive thank you to our friends at People for Liberty. There we go. Peopleforliberty.org is their website. And if you want to go to their Facebook group is People for Liberty Inc. What is the use of People for Liberty? People for Liberty plugs people in that are interested in the liberty movement, not necessarily within the Libertarian Party, but the broader movement. And they've created tons of groups. GSM for Liberty, Gun Owners for Liberty, and it's really these groups that get more information about the liberty movement and how they can contribute. And they also help with content creators like myself to get those people online and share their information. I haven't done the after dark show on People for Liberty yet, just because we are a little raunchier than normal political deep dive show. I want to keep the content that I put on there respectful, since they are platforming me. This week we did not have a political deep dive show. We were scheduled to have a Libertarian National Committee meeting, of which I'm on. That was canceled. So I hadn't scheduled a program for that for this week. Next week I'm shooting to have a conversation on criminal justice reform. Right now we're in the middle of the Derek Chauvin trial, and I think it's very timely that we talk about those issues. So anyway, that's one of the big stories this week. We'll start with the Derek Chauvin trial. It's underway. We've had a good presentation from the prosecution so far. It's interesting to finally see somebody within the police office, a police officer, actually testify against another police officer. That's very rare. But to testify and say that chokehold was not necessary at all, I think is big. But again, convicting a police officer is incredibly hard, and I'm worried that once the prosecution rests and the defense gets into it, going into this trial, I would say that I was 20%, 20 to 80, 20 versus 80%. I think thought he was going to get off, that Chauvin was going to get off on this charge. I feel a little bit better, but I would not be surprised if in the final analysis we see, something happen and Chauvin gets off for some reason. And God help Minneapolis and every American city in between, because it's going to be bad. And any thoughtful person watching that video last year, I just don't see why people don't view that as some kind of murder, that of a wrong action that a police officer is taking that resulted in the death of somebody. There was no reason to kneel on a handcuffed person's neck for 9 minutes, and that's ridiculous to me. So for me, I want a conviction, and I think that's the only thing that's going to keep the pot from exploding. So we'll see. And so next couple weeks, I'm hoping to have conversations on criminal justice reform. Hopefully, have it from both somebody who was a former public defender, somebody who was in the system, and then also from the policing perspective. So stay tuned for that. I think those will be very interesting conversations, very enlightening, and hopefully we can identify some paths forward that will uh, get the conversation rolling. So anyway, what else is happening this week? Oh, another big story this week. I call it Pizza Gates. Matt Gaetz, the congressman from Florida, last week came out preemptively to say that he was under investigation, and even said sex trafficking is the reason why. It's a lot more complicated than that. From what I hear, it sounds like he's a skis. But Matt is circling the wagons. He's been preemptive on this, unlike a lot of politicians. I think that's kind of the difference that you see here, is that you usually don't see a politician get out front like this. There's some questions because when I saw the word sex trafficking, my immediate thought was, this is the a lot of people in the law enforcement community consider all prostitution sex trafficking. There's no difference that a woman who's working independently, putting her ads on whatever used to be God, what was the name of that website? Anyway, used to do it on Craigslist. Heck, but she that is an independent contractor who's doing a service for a fee. That's not sex trafficking. That is, being that's being an entrepreneur. Let's be honest about it. Is there unsavory stuff that goes on in the sex industry? Sure. Is there sex trafficking going on? Sure. It's not going on to the extent that the authorities want you to think it is. It's I've seen the numbers, and if you extrapolate the numbers that they talk about, I remember one story was Atlanta. They wanted you to believe that the entire male population of that city was involved in sex trafficking, just based on the numbers of the girls that they thought were involved in it, and the numbers of times that they were forced to have sex a night. It was like 500,000 people. It was kind of ludicrous. If you just have to put the numbers together, and and I get why they're doing it, because they want more attention raised in that field, which is honorable. Getting sex trafficking, getting young girls that are being forced to have sex off the streets is great. I have no problem with that. But when you wrap up a whole bunch of people, consenting adults, into sex trafficking, that's not okay. Because that is, as nutty as people have gotten. Oh, I think Emily's joining us. She might be. There she is, Emily.
When you really want things to go fast, they go as slow as possible.
Absolutely. So welcome. And so I'm in the middle of talking about sex trafficking and Pizza Gates.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz.
That's, I've been shielding myself from certain aspects of the news that I get too angry about. That's one of them.
Well, he's a douchebag. I mean, there's no doubting that this guy's a douchebag. I was making the point that when the story came out and they said sex trafficking, that a lot of times authorities have just done nothing but claim that everything within sex work is sex trafficking, and that's not the truth. I mean,
it's a red herring.
Yeah. It's they don't like it, and that's they want to tie all of it together, and they think that no woman who's involved in or man who is involved in sex work is has agency, that they this isn't their choice, that they're always being forced to do it. I'm forced to go to work. I need to eat. So, I guess you could make that leap. But
Well, yeah, there's, that whole wage slave
yeah,
argument that within the system that we are operating, sure,
yeah,
I get it. We do have choices still, but it's difficult.
it is. And I'm not trying to trivialize the idea that there isn't sex work going on, or there isn't sex trafficking going on. There is, absolutely.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's happening probably, well, even one person is too many,
Yeah.
too frequently.
Well, they shut down websites like Craigslist. You can't put personal ads on anymore, and I can't remember the other.
Really?
Yeah, there was another website that was kind of the target of the federal government for a while. That got shut down when they did the FOSTA SESTA bill, and that was kind of the two main places that the nice thing about those places is that it allowed women who were in sex work to be able to vet their clients, and it provided them kind of a safety net. And I remember right after the law passed and those back pages, that website, after that law passed and those websites were shut down, in Martinsburg, you could drive down the street and all of a sudden you start seeing girls on the street again. Like you didn't see girls on the street before. And then, because they were forced out. I don't know.
Putting them in more danger.
Yeah, you're putting them in massive danger because, they're not able to vet their clients. It's the dude that rolls up on them in a car is the client. And that's, there's no vetting there.
No.
Prostitution should be legalized. It should be, and people freak out when I say that. Like, oh my God, you want prostitution legalized? Well, here's the thing: if you legalize prostitution, you're keeping the things that we all hate about this illegal: sexual slavery, battery, rape. All that stuff is still illegal. Plus, you're also getting those people who are in the sex work industry the ability to protect themselves by being able to go to the police when an actual violent crime happens to them.
And let's not forget the big issue. You cannot legislate morality.
Exactly.
Making a law does not prevent crime. It only supports punishment of the crime after it's been.
And that's the thing, these young ladies, even if you think that everything is sex trafficking, then why are you putting these women in jail? Because if everything is sex trafficking, you're a victim. They're absolutely a victim. Why are you putting them in jail?
Absolutely.
That makes no sense to me. Like that, and that, that whole everything's sex trafficking, but we're still putting you in jail for doing that, absolutely causes women who are in that sex trafficking industry, that are being forced to do this, keeping them from reporting because they think they're going to go to jail. The option is to continue doing this or go to jail.
There is nothing good about the criminalization of sex work. It only creates problems. Yep. And it's tantamount to, forgive the very poor comparison I'm about to make with prohibition, because getting drunk in a saloon isn't the same as women being harmed.
No,
it's just not. But the prohibition started because wives of men who frequented saloons wanted their husbands back home, and rather than sit down and have a conversation with their husband, they brought in Big Brother government, and so it only perpetuated the problems that they were trying to fight, and it shifted the problems from something that they could probably more easily control by going down to the saloon and grabbing their husband and dragging him back home.
Exactly.
Forgive the oversimplification, but and it made it a monster that they couldn't control, and the black market, and it just there's nothing good about prohibition of any sort.
Yeah. Every time they try it, all it does is criminalize innocent people. Um,
Exactly. It
if
makes
you don't want
criminals
to,
out of otherwise good citizens.
yeah, if you don't want to participate in sex work, then don't.
Right.
Like, you have a
Hey.
choice. You have a choice. Like I remember when I was 15 years old, I was walking from my high school. We had every year they would give us a day off to go to the state fair, which is like it was probably 2 miles from my school. So I walked from my school to the state fairgrounds. Um, and while I was walking by it, my high school was not in the most pristine section of Albuquerque, but I was walking by this place, and if Kara was on, she would recognize it was called the Tiwa Lodge. It was this just rundown sea motel, and I'm a 15-year-old boy with all the hormones that a 15-year-old boy is supposed to have, and this lady walks out and say, "Hey, honey, you want to have fun?"
Yeah.
And I said no. I was like, I don't know. That's just I want my first time to be a little bit more special than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Well,
can say no. It's not like they have a tractor beam that draws you in, and you're all of a sudden you're in the hotel room and you're having fun. But
right.
if
You had the
you want to
power
do
of
it, God bless.
consent or not.
Yeah, if people want to do it, God bless them. And you know what? You're right. In a way, it is kind of like that whole prohibition type deal. Is that women don't, women didn't want men to go down to the local saloon and drink all night. They also don't want their husbands to go down there and bang the local hooker. I mean,
Blowjobs for liberty.
yeah.
Bring back my old hashtag.
There you go.
No, ladies, save your marriage.
All right. Do you want another? Let's do a new topic. Do you want
Okay.
pop culture or another political topic?
Oh, Lord, because you know just how au courant I am. Pop culture may not be my thing.
Oh, but it's everyone's been talking about this stuff. So,
Okay, what is it? Let's see.
all right, let's talk about Little Nas X, because we didn't get a chance to talk last
Oh,
week.
yeah.
So he comes out and he releases a new single, and part of that is he comes out with this new shoe, to kind of cross promote with it.
It's kind of a good looking shoe, not gonna lie.
I mean, red and black looks good together, and
Yeah, not my style, but
original-
hey.
Yeah, I think of the original Air Jordans. They were red and black, because he was in the Chicago Bulls and all that stuff. But the rumor is that there was paint with a drop of blood in there, and there was only 666 made. So, of course, the fundies got mad. And I you know what? I don't want to bash religion, because today is a holy day, and I'm happy Easter to everyone who celebrates. I hope everyone's had a great day. I had a really fantastic day, but in this case, he baited everyone to talk about his single and these shoes, and these shoes are going for ridiculous amounts of money online now.
Oh yeah, it's a classic marketing play,
Yeah,
and so the whole like Satanist uproar. I mean, it was started over rumors. Like, I think it was in the 80s when it first really started heating up. I could be wrong. I may be forgetting my facts or meshing things in my memory that are wrong. But at least half, maybe most of what was being claimed about all these Satanist cults and whatnot are completely false, just false claims.
yeah.
And I mean, it's
I think
rather easy to whip the public into a religious furor over rumor.
Yeah, and I think I'm remembering what, maybe half remembering what kind of led to the whole Satanist thing was there was a couple of kids in Kentucky or something like that that murdered somebody and then they blamed it on the Church of Satan.
Yes,
I was like,
yeah.
no, you were just
You were just
that.
really terrible people. Yes.
No,
Why accept blame when you can shift it?
yeah, I only watched bits and pieces of the video itself, and the interesting thing is the letter that he wrote to his 14-year-old self about call me by your name, that basically it was he knew that the gist of it was that he had promised to keep that secret forever and not reveal that he was gay and all this stuff, and that now he's doing it, now he's out and he's free, and he's telling his 14-year-old self to not worry about it, that we're making the world a better place. Fantastic message. But it's gotten lost because people saw him grinding on Satan and then taking Satan's horns off of him, and it's theater. It's theater. Like I don't know if that's his religious belief or not. I don't really care. If he's happy, that's all that matters to me. I'm going to be happy living my life, regardless of whether he's a Satanist or Christian or not.
I didn't know his name or that he existed until I saw the tweets. Like,
well, you probably heard him. Probably heard of him beforehand. You just didn't put two and two together. He was that Old Town Road guy. Everybody started doing the Old Town Road country song. Oh, you missed it.
Yeah, don't underestimate my nerdiness.
That's awesome, though. I like that.
Well, it makes me speculate that when all the world is a stage, as the idiom, is society forgetting that because we're so wrapped up in it, in our phones, on the internet? Like everything is essentially, a play of sorts, marketed for our attention so that we give our money.
Yeah, everything's marketing now.
Are we forgetting that we're just being entertained?
Well, I mean, that's all that Facebook is us trying to entertain each other.
Right, and reaching out for very normal, evolutionarily based social needs. We need people. We need touching and hugging and laughing and community, and it's being stripped away from us rather abusively, in my opinion.
So do you think once all this blows over, and I know that there are people who are like, this is never going to blow over. We forget something so fast in our culture, like 2 years from now.
Who's saying it's never going to blow over? What never blows over?
No, they're saying that all the stuff that's happening because of COVID is never going to go away. To an extent, I think there are some things that are going to stick around. I think cold and flu season, you might see people wearing masks more than normal. That's what happened in Asia after the swine flu. They started wearing masks when cold and flu season happened.
The Renaissance began because
General Tyler Smith.
Yay!
What is up, man? How you doing?
Hi. Sorry I'm late.
No worries. We've been talking about prostitution. We've been talking about Pizzagates.
Satanism.
Yeah.
We're hitting all the points.
Sounds like a fantastic night. Hell yes.
Yeah.
I even brought up blowjobs for liberty.
That's right.
No, I remember those,
Blowjobs for liberty, you remember those?
I do. Look, you remember the rough campaign. It got wild.
Please don't do that.
We had to get the
ran a legitimate campaign. Thank you very much.
Honestly, I tell people this. we had Kim Ruff on last week. She was fantastic.
Always
You all
is.
were. You all were. Emily, you guys were all fantastic last week. I tell people that had Kim stayed in that race, I think she would have been the nominee.
Oh,
Oh, for sure.
I know. We could have fucking won.
Absolutely.
We had a plan.
Well,
I'm
it's
still
not just that,
angry.
You know, there was a post, I think Risa posted. Speaking of her, she is the month of April in our outright libertarians Dragbot calendar. Her and Dulap, very fine. But she put a post on there, and then James Ogle made a response, and Kim flipped out on him, and he was like,
Yeah.
And I was like, look, Kim is somebody that everyone in the libertarian movement would take a bullet for, and if you've pissed her off, then you need to re-examine yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
She's kind and patient, and I saw the buildup and the aftermath, as it were, and she was processing it too, like, why did I have to go this far? Why?
Well,
because he keeps on shitting on all over, like, everything.
Yeah. I mean, like, just, he got to the point where I banned him off my Libertarian Party of West Virginia's page, and because he would every like 2 or 3 days you get the spam post. Everyone knows the spam post in the libertarian movement. All the colors and all that stuff. And now he claims that Google is after him, and oh god. But Kim is somebody that everybody in the libertarian movement, regardless of caucus, regardless of your personal feelings of where you're at in the libertarian movement, is the type of person that people would run through walls for, take a bullet for. She's just that genuine and just that loved within the movement.
Rightfully so.
Yes, absolutely.
Going back to what we were saying before we were graced with Sir Tyler's presence.
Senator.
Yes, future
The hell
senator.
with the monarchy. We're not like Lloyd Thompson.
Yes.
I'm watching a show about Queen Victoria, so like it's kind of in my head. But anyway, the Renaissance began because of the Black Plague. Yeah, so I mean, yes, there are certainly some aspects within our culture that still survive, that were direct results of the Black Plague. So yes, there could be some things about the coronavirus that stick with society for a long time. I can't imagine what at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I think the vaccine passport thing is way over. But here's the question, though, as far as lasting impacts. Do you think coming out of this that social media is going to take a massive hit because people are going to be so interested in getting out and being with people that they're not stuck with their computer? They're not looking at their phone the whole time. They're just interested in getting that physical touch and being around people.
We're certainly headed that way, but I don't think social media is going to take a hit because we're living busy lives, and the structure, we aren't changing the structures of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't paring back and working fewer hours so we can tend gardens at home, just for one strange example. But so there are going to be times that we want people around but don't have the luxury of having those people, so we have to resort to our phones. I mean there's convenience to that, and I love that 2 of my best friends are in different states, and yet here we are talking.
Yeah.
So I don't think social media is going to take a hit, although I mean,
I hope it would.
Got it. Yeah, I know. Exactly. I want to be able to go and give you guys a hug, but that can't happen. So here I am.
Social media has, you're being very, very kind. I love it. I can't wait to hug you either. But however, social media has also revealed a lot of reason to lose faith in humanity too. So I'm hoping it takes it.
In some ways,
let's not forget that we're all just apes. I mean, we're
We need Darnell to
bones
come
with
on. That's
meat wrapped around with electricity going off in our heads. Like, this is all bizarre. With life's weird, and
It is. I mean,
it's okay to be weird.
I hate, sometimes I do get into that thing where I just kind of ponder like my place on the universe and, get real deep, like way too deep. And at points it's fascinating, but it's also really kind of depressing.
It can be, but I mean, if you think about it, it's defeatist to ask questions that we can't answer.
Yeah.
I mean, ask them, observe them, and let them go. Otherwise, you're just holding false hope for an answer, I think.
Sure.
You could also just remember, hey, blowjobs for liberty. That'll remind you of a place.
I found my happy thought, Peter Pan.
Jesus Christ.
He has nothing to do with this right now. Don't you take his name in vain today.
So my Easter card came in from Chrissy Wickers, where we have this traumatizing photo.
That's just amazing.
What?
Who posted that? Someone posted the full card on Facebook. It's hilarious.
Yeah, every night at around 2, 3 a.m., I get a comment on one of my posts. Hey, go check your mail.
All right, oh damn it.
I finally did it at 3 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
That was there. Oh, look. The thing of nightmares.
Nightmare fuel. Just like me and my sketchy buddies this week.
Your what buddies?
The sketchy bunnies.
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I blocked those out for a reason.
Hey, that's my favorite part of Easter is the sketchy bunnies. Reliving the years of trauma and who ever thought some of those outfits were anywhere near acceptable?
What is it called?
Sketchy bunnies. Go on my feed. There's like 3 or 4 that I posted this week. I had to take a small social media hiatus in the middle of the week, but there was
that bad, huh?
Yeah.
Oh god, I'm scared to try and find out what these are now. Never mind. It's just like happy level of traumatizing. Or...
Basically, sketchy bunnies is just pictures from history of kids with really bad Easter bunnies, like really badly.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
I love how I just like, oh, okay, like that's normal.
Like,
yes, I've experienced that trauma.
You guys don't do that every Easter? That's tradition in my house. Add on a little bit of corporal punishment, and that was our Easter dinner. Like,
but no, I mean, like there were some that you look at those kids and like those kids were never seen again. Like that was a serial murder behind that mask. That just had to. No good came from that. But but yeah, that's my favorite part of the season is the sketchy bunnies.
My favorite part of the season is the naked fertility dances underneath the full moon on Oster. Yeah, going full pagan.
Where are these?
I'm making that up. I don't know.
Asking for well, yeah. I mean, all these holidays are pagan related.
Well, in order to consolidate power, you have to pull in what the people already support. So
exactly, yeah. I mean, it's kind of brilliant when you think about it, like the way. It's
the way the government abuses us has always just been
ancient. What is this like ancient marketing? Like they got to like what's going to get the people to support this?
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
let's go up their holiday. There we go.
I'm reading a book and it discusses this very thing. It's the Gaslighting Recovery Workbook.
Yeah.
I was using it to prop up my
I hope they
computer,
paid you for that
among
plug.
other books.
I hope they paid you for that plug.
Well, I will gladly accept remuneration, but I lost my bookmark out of it. Oh well. But I mean, it very clearly defines how politicians gaslight society.
Oh,
It's like, woof, it's a little too close to home.
I mean, like we have our senator, your favorite senator of mine, Shelley Moore Capito, who's done nothing. I mean, she runs as fiscal conservative in West Virginia. Talking about ending the waste and all that stuff in Washington. For the last month, since Congress has been in recess, she's gone around the country first complaining that we're not spending money on the border wall, and then she's gone around West Virginia talking about all the money that she's bringing back to the state of West Virginia. So which is it? Are you a conservative, fiscal conservative, or are you, hey, let's bring a bunch, Robert Byrd, Democrat, bringing a bunch of money back to West Virginia?
It wouldn't surprise me if she had a lot in common with Robert Byrd.
Yeah.
It really wouldn't. Yeah. Knowing a lot about her family too, it's just like, yeah, that makes sense. His daddy a KKK Grand Wizard too. Like,
well, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, if Robert Byrd existed in the space today, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a Republican.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be and he'd probably be a darling in the Republican Party. That's Robert Byrd. Everything in West Virginia is named after Robert Byrd.
Isn't that gross? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Ooh, international news. Benjamin Netanyahu is on trial in Israel for fraud and what is it? Fraud, breach of trust, and bribery.
Yeah, this is like the second time he's been up for that too.
Yeah, so Israel in the last, I want to say like 3 years, has gone through almost 6 elections. They have not been able to get a majority government for the last 6 elections. It's just the Likud and his party split enough seats, and then the minor parties just aren't able to come to an agreement to form a lasting government. But the thing is, if he's not in government, he is eligible for prosecution. That's not 90% of the reason why he keeps trying to run for prime minister, is that it protects him from being prosecuted. So he's kind of like Silvio Berlusconi that way.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna get acquitted if he did the first time.
Yeah, probably.
Or not? He wouldn't even acquit. They indicted it and then they dropped it. I don't even remember.
I think because he
blatant corruption.
No, I think they dropped it because he became prime minister, and they're not able to finish the prosecution.
Right.
And right now he's kind of in a same position. He's not. They haven't had a full decision from the election and who's going to take power, and until that happens, they might be able to stop it again. I don't know. Also in the Middle East, an interesting story. This is the second time this has happened in the last couple. Well, the other one's been happening for a while, but the Crown Prince of Jordan, who's a major ally in the region, is under house arrest for reportedly working with outside forces to destabilize the government. He released a video stating that the government is corrupt and misusing funds, and that was released to the BBC. This is an interesting story because he was the crown prince. He was the heir apparent of Jordan. He's the brother of the king. Unlike England, where the lineage is passed down, in the Middle East, the lineage is passed from brother to
Laterally.
brother to brother. Although Saudi Arabia just kind of skipped that, and now it's going to go down a level to Mohammed bin Salman. But yeah, that's the second royal in the region to get put under house arrest. I can't remember her name, but the daughter of the ruler of Dubai, the effective leader of the United Arab Emirates, is also under house arrest. She's tried to escape the country twice before. At one point, she was on a ship heading to India, and commandos from the UAE military found the boat and arrested her and brought her back to Dubai, and she's under house arrest. And she just wants to get out of the kingdom. That's her whole thing. She doesn't want power or anything. She just wants to get the hell out.
The audacity of human beings to think that they have the right to kidnap another human being. I'm just baffled that this is still happening by so many.
Yeah. I know it's ridiculous.
We don't understand consent enough, and we need to be screaming about it.
Well, and in this case, it's somebody who does not respect consent. I mean, if you're a king, who has consent over you? Who has the agency to flout you? And that's the issue here, is that he has no concept of consent. He has all the consent in the world,
but he's enabled by people.
Yeah.
Who also want to deny consent of others. I mean, it's the same thing happening here. We just don't call them kings.
Yeah. They exhibit a lot of the same behaviors, and COVID's exacerbated. Like there are governors who think that I don't need legislative authority. I do what I want.
And it's happening all the time, and we're pointing it out more and more frequently, and that's why Americans are getting more and more upset.
Yeah.
But what the fuck are we going to do about it? Because we elect these turkeys.
Yeah. Exactly.
Here's your message of hope on today, Easter Sunday.
Speaking of messaging, part of the reason why I took a 2-day social media hiatus was on was it Monday or Tuesday? All those days kind of together at this point. But Libertarian Party of Kentucky put out a tweet regarding health or COVID passports, and it said nothing about the Holocaust, but you could draw the inference from there.
If you conflate, sorry. Listen, folks, we can't have it both ways. We are either going to look at things and examine them critically, or we're going to do what everyone else is doing and conflate matters like prostitution equals sex trafficking. No, it fucking doesn't. Comparing patches and labels of human beings, comparing that to a different kind of label to a human being, that's not conflation. But comparing labels to shipping off of human beings to be murdered, that's conflation.
Yeah.
And the point here is that the labels led and always lead to murder.
Yeah, there are two issues.
Always.
There are two issues here. One, the tweet was poorly written. It left it open to interpretation, which a lot of people did. It did. People interpreted it that way.
People interpret whatever the fuck they want, whenever the fuck they want.
Well, it's not that.
Read words. Reading comprehension matters. I'm not going to let this off the hook. This is ridiculous.
It's who reacted, and that's what matters here. Is that who reacted, and then the doubling down. When they doubled
Well,
down,
yes.
that's where it got bad.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
And then the attacks on the rabbi from the University of Kentucky were vicious and
I
unconscious.
didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, it was bad. The original tweet again. The problem is it was a tweet. Twitter is famous for only having 240 characters to convey a thought or an idea. This is something
what a use of that feature too.
Yeah. And you could now you can make a multi-level tweet, but if you're going to try and do something like that in 240 characters, you really have to kind of cover some bases. Or if you don't think you can do it in 240 characters, do a multi-level tweet. That but relying on those words and then everyone interpreting the way that they're going to interpret them led to a social media shitstorm. And then my thinking is that the Kentucky people just kind of rallied around the troops and doubled down on the messaging and got really dumb with the messaging.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, a lot of people thought my commentary on it was I was mad about the tweet. No, I wasn't really mad about it. I was started to make fun of it a lot, the same way that I did when people were like, Trump's literally Hitler. I was like, no, he's not. He's at least a Mussolini. Calm down. Yeah. It was that kind of shit. It was like, Godwin's Law, like, I was actually kind of happy. It was like almost like it was back on life support. And then somebody came in and said, nah, live, bitch. And this entire shit blew up. Where, and the whole thing for anybody that might be watching that didn't know was they were comparing those vaccine records to the cloth Star of David that they used to have a sell on your clothes, which a lot of professions already require. Anyway, whether or not that is a moral affront is a different story and subjective, in my opinion. And that being said, though, like comparing it to something like that, I have a God family that lives there in Louisville, who have been utilizing me as a bridge between the Libertarian Party and where they are. They are Jewish. They happen to see this tweet, albeit anecdotal. I get a phone call getting my ear chewed out, like about this tweet and the doubling down and how they're talking to Rabbi Litvin and like, I definitely, my chairwoman here in Arizona put it best. She made a comment about how, her entire father's side, almost 98% of it was exterminated in Treblinka. She's like, I get what their parallel is trying to make. I get, like, that everybody's terrified, scared, but because they're terrified, scared, they made an ahistorical and an inaccurate comparison and alienated a shit ton of people that I've had to talk to. And I got what she's saying. Like I said, it's all, albeit their anecdotal takes, they burnt bridges that weren't theirs to burn. Mm-hmm. And that's what pissed me off the most about it. I didn't care that they made the comparison. A lot of the times people from the more conservative factions of the party make really, really dumb comparisons, and that's fine. I'm used to it at this point. It gives me my fuel so I can actually be funny, unlike a certain comedian. So there's where he needs to start capitalizing on instead of trying to be a pundit. Anyway, but
he got worked too. He got worked by Rabbi Lippman.
Yeah, he did, and thank God.
Excuse
me, thank Jehovah. No, I did just straight up, like whichever deity came in and gave Litvin his words, like thank whoever it was. But yeah, no, like that was the biggest part of me that made me mad. I didn't get mad at the comparisons made. Like I said, I've always found it dumb. I found it dumb when the Democrats and liberals and leftists were calling Trump Hitler and shit like that. I was like, this is stupid. Right. And then, like, that happens with my God family. That's where I got mad. And I'm sure that's probably where a lot of people in this party were really pissed off. It's like, that was not your bridge to burn. We can't afford to start alienating. Whether we like it or not, the social conservatism is on the decline. As each generation comes and passes, there are a little less cultural conservatives that are, that still exist. we have to find ways to actually start building our numbers, bridging gaps, bridging the other communities and everything like that. We have to start showcasing how liberty applies for everyone, not just, a select few. And they do stuff like that and alienate these people, double down, insult their, religious figures and things like that. You're not going to do that. And it's not about compromising libertarianism. It's about learning how to convey libertarianism at that point, which is a lesson sorely needed by about 90% of this party. And I will gladly say I'm one of them.
And that's the interesting thing. I mean, they do want to reach out to social conservatives, but I mean, let's say they made a reference to maybe the Crusades or some kind of Christian event, and if a Christian leader had pointed out some bullshit that they had said on that tweet, would they have attacked the Christian leader as vociferously as they attacked the Rabbi Litvin? I mean, here's one example of what they did with Rabbi Litvin. They took his face and they put it on an uncircumcised penis.
Yeah, I honestly, my jaw dropped. I was like, "Fucking A."
Oh, well, I'm not familiar.
Not Kentucky. This was not Kentucky. This was a member outside of the state party leadership, anything like that. He's not a leader of the state party or anything like that. It was just some brando dude on Twitter, but took a picture of Rabbi Litvin, superimposed his face on that uncircumcised penis.
I mean, that's so that wasn't the party.
No, it was not the party.
So
no, absolutely.
What did the party do with this rabbi?
The party actually, you know what, to their credit, after all this happened, like the next day, they did do a longer post that really explained their position. That probably should have been their original post, because if that was their original post, we probably wouldn't be talking about this today. They really, I didn't see anything from Libertarian Party Kentucky going after the rabbi. It was a bunch of members of the caucus that I hesitate because I'm on my
Does this caucus start with an A or an M? Because I don't know.
Which end is this attack coming from?
Right. Which is kind of ridiculous, considering that the A caucus usually is the one who puts their feet in their mouths. But
right. Well, that's the thing. Like David said, I don't think these people that were attacking Rabbi Litvin were either here or there. They definitely would be people that certain aspects of this particular caucus would it be appealing to, but like you said, to their credit, they didn't really jump in on the superimposing a face on an uncircumcised dick or anything like that. They actually they said their piece, they clarified where they were. Still think it was a dumb comparison, but they did it professionally, and that's where we're at. Get on them, whoever that social media manager is. I need to know, so I never inadvertently put them on my campaign. That being said, it's these people that came in and there was one even that doubled down and said, how is making fun of this dude being anti-Semitic? I was like, do you not see the picture of the dick you just put? Are you guys that obtuse? Somebody,
yes, don't underestimate the stupidity of people.
As somebody on this spectrum, I make a lot of foot and mouth statements sometimes in conversation, everything. I'm just even really, are you that dumb?
But I will give all credit to Stephen Nikela on the LNC for authoring the COVID passport resolution that was eventually passed by the LNC, and it's on the LP website if you want to go see that. Mm-hmm. It was well crafted. It should have happened long ago. Well, I mean, COVID passports really have just kind of become a thing that we can address. Could we have been better on COVID messaging? Perhaps. I do see some people's points that COVID is at one point kind of a national issue, but really is mostly the states, because every state has different rules when it comes to COVID right now. Some states are in full lockdown. Some states are, mask mandates. Some states are just wide the fuck open. So, it's hard to create a national policy other than saying leave the people the fuck alone. You know that
Well,
that,
and
that
a
we
national policy isn't necessarily, well, no, I get it.
it's a top down thing. I mean, how many times has the LNC done something where all the states kind of buck because how dare we put a national policy on our local stuff, and it's like, well, okay.
There's so many things to talk about. Listen, so I want to roll back.
Sure.
I don't know anything about the debacle other than the original tweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's rather important for us as a society to seriously discuss the ramifications of the COVID passport,
Sure,
of the COVID vaccination cards, of labels, because let's not forget the sew on patches weren't just for the Jews. They were for all undesirables, which covered a lot of people. So, it's easy to be like myopic and say, oh, this only affected this one group of people, so it's not really applicable to everyone else. But no, it is applicable. It affected millions of people, not just Jews.
Sure. But the issue that I have with it is that you can make that point, but you don't have to be that I'm not a fan of brutalist tactics.
So they weren't diplomatic.
Yeah, I would. That's the thing. We're very. A lot of people within the movement conflate brutalism with bold messaging. You can be bold. You can make great points, but you.
Well, and Kim was rather good at doing that. We based that whole campaign on bold rather than brutal.
Exactly.
So yes, I agree, but I don't really think it was that brutal. I don't remember it word for word.
I think it was lacking context and historical, as my chairwoman said. And me and her are both pretty radical people. Mm-hmm. Like it was very interesting the way that this is being attacked, because the whole reason this paranoia is kicked off now is because businesses might start requiring it. Now we can go into the whole corporate fascism of it and everything like that. I guess is their new buzzword now. And the government's manipulating them to do that and shit. We can go into that conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it was very. I agree with her in the fact that I think it was very inaccurate comparison, because this was more of a private industry thing that has been in the news and everything. Could stores start making you carry it and stuff like that? Certain professions already make you do that. You can't even really I don't even think you go to public school without a vaccination record of some sort, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
And it's like this has already been here.
There are some states that do have religious exemptions. But.
Right. That was this has already been ever present and everything like that. This was nothing more than to just, I don't know. It's like that kid that knocks over a glass of water just because he wants attention from dad. I don't know. It's like one of those things. It struck me as very weirdly juvenile, albeit because I'm also kind of, I don't think it was necessarily brutal. It was just kind of if it wasn't so smack in the face shocking when it happened, it would have been that kid's a brat.
Well, so here's the thing. When you get social media messaging or something that just blows up, a lot of times it's more in the reaction to it. How do you react to it? And that's, most of my problem with it. I thought the tweet was ham-handed. And when people started complaining about it, they could have said, our intent is not to this or that. But then when they doubled down and started, and then when Libertarian Party New Hampshire posted segregation tweets and stuff like that, it became like this contest of which state party can do dumber things. But it can piss off more people than the other.
So what's the point of messaging in our party if we're not being listened to, and we aren't? So, you know, I don't know, like, I think to take individual tweets and individual instances such as this and isolate them is short-sighted. We need to look at the context of what's going on with our party, in society, and society outside of the party. We need to start making connections because we're so, again, myopic. We see what we see, and that's our little world, and we end up in an echo chamber, and the echo chamber starts getting overwhelming because we don't just take a step back and say, like, what's our effect on the world outside of us?
Well, that's the thing. This tweet did actually get outside of. I mean, like,
well,
you know,
yeah,
all of
but
the
then,
dumb stuff, like Arvin Vora and all the other, you know, missteps that we've had over the years, really just kind of die within our sphere. This one gets out.
well, a few people coming in and saying fuck off, fuck right off with that shit. Like, that's not society interacting with us. Let's make no mistake. That's a couple of people who are writing us off entirely, instead of engaging in dialogue. So yes, they failed in their goal, if their goal was to discuss this intelligently and maturely. Which, because I agree with you, Tyler. Yes, it's juvenile, and could they have constructed a strategy to discuss this wild and very important issue? Yeah, they could, but, you know, we're all volunteers, like, and
Right. That's
you
the
know,
thing.
what
I
kind
guess
of time do we have?
I
Not
will
that I'm
bring-
making excuses per se, but I'm sorry. Go for it, Tyler.
No, I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to clarify that, yes, I understand that my reaction to it very niche, very specific, and it is because it directly affected me.
Mhm.
If it did that to me, I can only imagine some of the other people that it also fucked with their outreach and their recruitment and everything like that. Because it's like, I've been working on my God family for God knows how long. And you know, it really sucked. Like, not because I lost the recruitment, but also because they now think that I might have some semblance of like tone deafness and don't take, like, you know, their people suffering
Sure.
seriously. Like, you know, it's like she calls me and like, my grandparents didn't get exterminated in the fucking camps for you guys to make trivial comparisons. Word for word, what was said to me. I was like, wow, I didn't do it.
Well, not only that, but they're conflating as well. I mean, and I'm, listen, we could, I mean, if we take a step back and look at the reality of our situation, yeah, we're the third largest party, but we are so wildly ineffectual. We can't maintain organization with our own organization.
Right.
We take the good people, use them and spit them out, or ignore them entirely because some fucking edgelord is more interesting. We're spinning our wheels and wondering why. It's because of things like this, where we just stare at it and make noise about it and do absolutely fucking nothing. We don't build up the very useful things that are being done for education, for outreach. And I think it's testament to the fact that you've lost recruitment. We aren't going to recruit people if we aren't effectual. And if something so small as that could deter someone from the message of liberty, we have a bigger problem. We aren't getting our message out at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the thing, but it's like, it doesn't help that this is almost kind of seemingly a common thing. And I will give way to what you were kind of alluding to earlier. A lot of the times this stuff would fly under the radar if we just like let the child knock the water over and, like, you know, ground him when we get home. Like, but no, we decide to make a scene, scream at the kid and start, like, you know, like, and I get it. I get that that's also not helpful at all, but it because of that, it's been so consistently difficult getting these people that I tried to reach out to and get to meetings, or, recruit and everything. It's been extremely difficult because it's like every week we've got something really dumb going on. On the flip side of that, when do we stop ignoring that we have some major dumbasses that are just not good at marketing at all? And if they are any good at it, they're attracting like very, very non-libertarian people. We'll leave it at that. And
I have a theory about this, if you don't mind my interruption.
Go for it.
It's because we aren't organizing ourselves well enough to do. Even within our campaign, one of my biggest frustrations was putting out the information, giving ideas, and no one acting on them. No one. The ideas die because we aren't going out there and volunteering and finding ways to advance liberty in our own communities. Instead, we're sitting here, and I realize that the hypocrisy as I say this, we're sitting here on podcasts and educating, which has its uses, don't get me wrong. But it's so much easier to sit on a couch and talk about our opinions than it is to get out there and do something like, I don't know, write legislation or contribute to legislation. Go volunteer for organizations that are doing that if you don't have the ability to do that yourself, etc. Go volunteer at a soup kitchen. Find something that shows everyday people that voluntarism works, and it's the only way to advance the human condition.
Hey, I got a question from Dark Sage 9117. It's a bit strange how Democrats are fighting against a bill in Georgia when they were the party of Jim Crow and suppression for decades in the South. They violently used the KKK and poll taxes, used the South under Democratic control for generations. While yes, everyone in the party agreed with the Dixiecrats, I'm curious how Democrats defend their own record of racism against and Jim Crow. I mean, honestly, they were allowed to. So they moved out of the South, and the Republicans happily moved in. Around the 1970s, Richard Nixon's Southern strategy to get the states to really kind of pick up that mantle, not quite of Jim Crow and that type of stuff, but to do things like the drug war, and to continue to keep the races marginalized. They were able to pick up the southern states. The Democrats do have a very compliant media. They do have, they're able to. It's not that they're, they've effectively done anything other than just completely ignore their history.
So I could you post the question again or repeat the question?
Yeah, sure. There we go.
I mean, if Democrats today defend their own record of racism and Jim Crow, it's just like with anything that it's easy to say to say, well, yeah, I'm a Democrat today, but I wasn't a Democrat then, so I have no part in that.
I mean, I'm going to piggyback on this, on what you said earlier, actually, and kind of what led to our discussion about marketing and everything like that. The Democrats have mastered the art of ignoring it and letting it die. And that's exactly what's happened. And that's if it does get brought up, like, Robert C. Byrd got confronted a few times about his affiliations with the KKK and all this other, we've seen it several times with people like Tulsi Gabbard, who was completely against homosexuals a few years ago, made a flub with transgender individuals just recently. They apologize and say, I've evolved in my mindset and my thinking, and that's all they have to say. They have the luxury of numbers. They have the luxury of power. They have the luxury of a compliant media, as David said. They have this luxury where they can just kind of let it, take away its oxygen and it dies and it goes away and people ignore it. And, it's one of those things that, with our, like I said, piggyback on what we were saying earlier, if we just let it die, it probably wouldn't become an issue. Flip side of that, we also don't have the numbers. If we ignore it too much, it might become a Leviathan and take over our party. and not go, God, Jesus, I can already hear the comments. I'm not attacking a certain faction. I'm just saying that that was the word that came to my mind. Sorry. I can already see the inbox now because, awesome. I'm like, no, is the word that came to mind. But that is a potentiality. Like the negative aspects could greatly influence and become the face of the Libertarian Party. Democrats have the luxury of numbers and appealing to the younger generations, which for whatever reason we still haven't capitalized on. They can kind of change and alter that history to their liking and their benefit, to where they're getting the younger voters, they're getting the marginalized communities, they're getting all of this because they don't breathe life into their very sordid past. So,
and I think we've kind of hit it, but yeah, it's really that they've been allowed to forget it and just move on with their past, and again, most politicians and really most people's attention doesn't even go back to the prior election. For most people, politics is like the Olympics. It comes around every 4 years. They talk about it for a couple of weeks and they move on with their fucking lives. Is it right? Absolutely not. Should they be held to account for their past atrocities? Absolutely. But you also got to figure out that most of the people that did that are gone.
Well, yeah, that's the point I'm gonna say. Like, who's gonna be held accountable?
Yeah, I mean,
people who didn't participate.
Yeah.
I mean, so I get it. Like, yeah, let's shine a light on the ugly past so that we never repeat it.
Yeah,
but there's nothing to account for right now because it's not in this very specific iteration of the Democrats. I'm stepping on my own tongue. Never mind. I'm gonna stop what I was saying.
It's all good. I mean, the people that are in power, the Democrats, are not the same people that were in power in Jim Crow. The biggest bastards of that movement that at least on the Jim Crow side, are gone. Bull Connor, Strom Thurmond, Robert Byrd, George Wallace. Those guys are gone. They're all gone. You can't really hold anyone to account on that one. But again, take that history lesson, make sure you apply it to today. And there's plenty of shit going on right now that we really need to be focusing on. Whether it's your Second Amendment rights, your Third Amendment rights, your Fourth and Fifth, and every damn amendment.
First, all of them. Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, there's a shit ton of stuff that we really have to be focusing on because and this is the thing. I know, Tyler, you and some of the people here in West Virginia have made this point. Like, why are you getting mad at what the governors are doing? That the governors are telling you can't go to a place of business, but you haven't spoken up a damn thing about, any usurpations of Second Amendment rights or your Fourth Amendment rights or your Fifth Amendment rights. You've been completely silent about that, but because you can't go to the damn Bass Pro Shop, you're getting pissed off. Like, there's plenty of stuff to be angry about, and if you had spoken up far earlier, you wouldn't be dealing with this right now.
And that's what's important to, I guess, clarify too, because it's like we do need to shine a light on this is the progression that we've been warning you about. This is what's going to happen if you don't start standing with us when we are arguing the Bill of Rights, or natural, inherently, God-given, Allah-given, whatever rights that we get from birth. If you're not there to stand with us and fight over that, then you need to start expecting to see things like this, because we can only do so much with the small numbers we have.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to sit there and actually be an ally with us in the fight for liberty and the fight for civil rights, or even the fight for local things such as like Board of Education measures that we've got going on here in Arizona. If you're not there to fight that fight, expect the government to sit there and kind of Iago the private industries Othello, like, do this,
Yeah.
do that, and da. Like, here's a little bit of a subsidization while you're at it. Like, if you do this, you get like a grant from the government and all that shit. If you're not there at the local level, when the basic rights are being attacked, this is going to happen more frequently, more often. And we have to get better about bridging that gap without alienating people who are going to end up getting oppressed or have been historically oppressed too. So,
well, when was the last time y'all
middle.
went to your city council meetings? Like no one shows up because one, they're fucking boring. Two, it's just like with any government, like they're largely ineffectual until someone comes in and slides in that Iago moment and does something egregious, and then no one's there to stop it. So I agree with you, Tyler. But how can we get people in?
That, or they hold like our county commission hold their board meeting at Thursday morning at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. I'm sorry. So like who the hell is going to go after that? You're going to get maybe a couple of retirees coming out because they don't have anything better to do with their lives. I know that's sad. I'm sorry. No, literally, like they broadcast. They do broadcast our county commission meetings, and I'll watch it. It's like a retirement home in there.
But
I'm sorry, Tyler. I totally derailed you.
Oh, you're fine. Actually, like while we're on that vein, I think one of my favorite things as far as watching a city council meeting where they allowed an open forum and everything like that. Nebraska, the guy that got up there and did the chicken.
Oh, the chicken nuggets. Oh God.
They're like saucy chicken nuggets or whatever did he call boneless wings. It really is. All right, if he can get up there and do that and gain national notoriety just for being facetious, how easy do you think it would be to get up there and actually defend your rights? To sit there and say, it's my business, I can sell this product, that product, I don't need a special license to sell booze or some shit like that. It's simple like that, and it's that easy when they have these open forums to get that mic. He used it, albeit for comic relief and shit like that. He did it. He brought attention to, yes, and by the way, I agree with him. They are saucy chicken nuggets. They are not wings. Anyway.
That's right.
But that being said, he got up there and did it for something completely nonsensical. Like, we can do this. We need your help though at the same time. And that's the rub of it all. Like, everybody's getting off this stuff because they can't go, what did you say, the Bass Pro Shop, or they can't go get their haircut, or they can't go to the golf course or some shit like that. Cool. I like leisurely activities too and shit like that, but I've been doing this for damn near 12 years now, like going and arguing, like trying to help candidates for liberty, like oriented candidates and everything like that get elected to office to stop these affronts to our civil rights, our liberties, our, everything. And it's been a struggle because we've had such small marginal numbers. Now that you're finally seeing what we've been screaming about the past decade, it's time to like put down maybe the Lawberts have a point. Like,
well, and something that I think should be noted is that it isn't just the battle of getting people interested. And, I can't necessarily fault anyone for only getting upset when something affects them.
Yeah.
Heck, we don't know their life. And they may not interact with things in the way that we do to where they see these issues. But let's say that there are some people and they do show up to their city council meeting, and the people in their city council are so systemically corrupt. Like, I'll just say it, Decatur, Illinois, they start reducing the amount of time that the public can speak. And completely don't listen, because John Phillips is there at every single city council meeting every week, unless something happens, and he speaks, and it largely gets ignored. And they then change the rules to keep him down, just like they did with Kim in Arizona. If you get someone effectual, The corrupt people will do whatever they can to silence them.
This reminds me of probably about 6 or 7 years ago, right after I moved to Arlington. The Atlanta Braves played downtown Atlanta for years. Turner Field's, I mean, it was a 20-year-old stadium. It wasn't even that decrepit. It was actually a really nice place to see a baseball game. But the owners got an itch to move the team out of the predominantly black area of town and moved it to the suburbs of North Cobb, and right at the perimeter, 285 and I-75. It's really just a dumb place to put a stadium. But the county commission met, the Cobb County Commission, when they had their vote, they scheduled the vote. Like they gave like 5 hours warning of this vote being scheduled. And they allowed 8 people to speak on it. And they had their 8 people speak on it, like in line to speak on it. So they heard no opposing voices, and just kind of stacked the deck. And then they voted to give the Atlanta Braves, owned by owned by a billionaire, a huge tax break and massive control of this stadium and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean they know the ways to stuff that right down your throat if they want to.
Yeah, well, I just
not
I actually
blowjobs for liberty.
blowjobs.
Sorry.
I
They're
just
not
I just
doing it
tagged you
right.
and Emily in a post that I saw out of Tennessee, Carthage, Tennessee, I believe is what it was, where Cole Ebel was actually physically removed from a city council meeting, not given any opportunity to speak. So I mean, there is that's going to happen. I feel like, but I feel like that's what we need to start exposing. Like that needs to be put on blast. That needs to be shared around. That needs to be, brought up more often, because that is the perfect evidence. We're not conspiracy theorists. They legitimately stifle our voices, and I'm trying so hard not to laugh fucking hashtag.
No, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I had to do that.
And our only solution is fellatio, guys.
You know what? Let's give it a fucking try.
It can't be any worse than the.
Let's not forget cunnilingus too, though. Let's be real. Don't forget the.
I don't forget that.
I actually always like that. Coitus has so many fun words.
Yes, absolutely.
Coitus, cunnilingus, fellatio.
As though it needs fun terms to be made any more fun.
I know.
Right? Unless people aren't doing it right.
Might I procure you an alcoholic comestible, and we engage in coitus on the morrow?
Yes. How to pick me up.
I read your entire, what was it, like 30 tweets? I can't remember who it was from, about guys taking care of themselves. Emily, you.
Oh, yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Just some dude dropping out truths like, listen, if you don't like the way your girl smells, it's probably because you're sticking dirty shit inside her. So stop that.
Don't dirty dick your girl.
Wash your goddamn hands too. Don't forget your mouth and your hands. If they're going to be involved, like, get under your fingernails. Yeah. Sorry, Tyler, I'm grossing
No, it's okay. The washing hands thing, like, makes me always revert back to like the beginning of this pandemic becoming. How are they nasty asses doing it?
I know.
It was very much a reality check, because I guess it shouldn't have been as shocking as it was, but it's like I am now like second guessing touching doorknobs in public spaces. I'm like, oh wait, like,
yeah,
I live in like a former retirement community down here, because all the door handles are handles instead of knobs, so I can just do that number.
Use paper towels. That's what women do. Like most women.
I have little like naps like the sanitary napkins and stuff like that. Well, that was a wrong word. But yeah, like the little wipes and stuff like that you use. And
Yeah.
like I have those I carry around with me when I go to public restrooms and stuff like that. But that's always been like a practice I've always done anyway. But it was like then the CDC comes out with some of these guidelines. I'm like, why did this have to be reiterated? Like, oh God. And then the New York thing, speaking of blowjobs for liberty, like, teaching you how to properly use a glory hole and not get the pandemic or the flu or the fucking COVID virus. Like, do you not remember? Did you guys not see that?
Oh, I did not see that.
No, but now I want to know the proper way to use a glory hole.
Yeah, the New York Department of Health was like giving sex tips, like in order to not spread the virus.
Oh, that's like having your dad give you something.
Oh, I did see, like, yeah. Oh,
essentially described
yeah,
it in your
doggy
in-home
style.
glory hole. Like,
I mean, listen, I'm here for doggy style, but
just tall enough, my head will be 6 feet away. Like,
madam, I'm going to need a sheet between us.
Maybe the Mormons had it right, I guess.
oh my God. Could you imagine that talk sex with Dr. Sue?
On a humorous note, my mother's here for a visit. So
All right.
She's hearing all of this.
Sweet.
So
Come on.
on that note, I should probably go. Go pay attention to my mother. So
Yeah. Well, it was good to see you.
yeah, sorry. I was rather hot tonight. I hope I didn't completely step all over myself. So
No,
but,
whatever said here is all good. So
yeah, it's just, on a forum that's available to literally everyone. But hey, go ahead and say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, say whatever you want. Say whatever you want.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
To getting any blowback that I'm deserved. So
I mean, if we're doing blowjobs for liberty, we better get blowback. Like, reciprocity is a thing. Like,
that's right.
Wait, okay, so I have a funny story. I the harlot that I am, the godless harlot. I was 17 and I was a slut, and I offered a guy that I was friends with a blowjob, and he asked if he could blow on my face. Well, I didn't know what that meant.
oh dear God.
I thought he like wanted to like blow on my face. So when the time came, he was like, I'm ready to blow, and I'm like, okay, here's my face. So, and he was livid. So that's what.
Why would you be livid?
Okay.
I don't understand. Why would you be livid? I mean, at that point, you're good to go.
Well, he wasn't really interested in me. He really just wanted me because I would let him blow in my face. So
that is now the number one story ever told in this show. That is the number one told.
You get to the point where you
You're
can start
welcome.
making ads for the political deep dive. It needs to be a soundbite.
Someday I'll tell you guys the Saki story. That might give you a run for money on that one, but that might
We've
be
reached
next.
the part of the show where we tell our embarrassing sex stories, guys.
No, this is.
I don't have many because I'm a fucking goddess.
That's right.
Sorry.
It wasn't really a sex story, but there was nudity involved. So, which is fitting with Saki. So,
Do go on.
okay. Oh, you want?
We're enthralled. Like, no.
Well, tell us the story.
All right. So, my sister, I'm living with Kara and her husband and newborn child in St. Louis for a year. And Kara decides to go home to Albuquerque, New Mexico to see my mom and visit with her and show her the kid and all that stuff. So, Friday night rolls around after she leaves, and my brother-in-law, Charles, like, hey, man, want to party on Friday night? And I was like, yeah, sure. We'll have fun. We'll, drink some beer and have a good time. He comes home on Friday night and he's like, dude,
I had this exact Grinder conversation.
nice. So comes home and he has this 24 pack of beer, and then he goes, dude, I got sake. Now, I've never had sake before. Living in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico, sake wasn't readily available at that point. So I was like, yeah, I never had sake. And so we're hanging out, we're drinking. I'm probably about 3 or 4 beers deep, and he's like, dude, you want to try the sake? I was like, sure, what the hell? And so he pours me a shot. I drink it. I was like, I'm not really a fan of this. And he proceeds to drink the whole bottle of sake. It goes haywire from there. Probably about an hour later, I'm on the couch and I'm watching the movie Event Horizon. Have you guys seen that movie?
Mm-hmm.
A really messed up sci-fi movie. Okay. I can't remember I always forget the actor's name, but there's a scene in the movie. So the premise of the movie is that they, are able to do time travel by punching a hole through space-time. But when they do it, they go to this other dimension that is really messed up. It haunts the ship, and the one of the main characters gouges his own eyes out and holds them up to the dude, this dude, and he's like, "Free yourself from hell" or something like that. It was just a really just fucked up scene, and all of a sudden I hear off to my side. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I'm drunk. I'm like 12 beers deep at this point, and I'm watching this really fucked up movie, and I'm just like, and so I hear the side, and the scene's going on. I look over, and my brother-in-law is doing a marine crawl, buck ass naked, to the bathroom. Now,
we've all been there.
I wanted to see my brother-in-law naked.
No, we haven't.
I never wanted to see my brother-in-law naked.
No.
And he proceeded to vomit all over the toilet, and
sorry, my story was better.
yeah, it was.
All right, Tyler. Embarrassing nudity or sex story?
I usually tell my sake story when we're at a Japanese hibachi grill.
Okay, so like David, mine incorporates alcoholism, and like Emily, it incorporates sex.
All right.
It was right after I got out of the military. I was essentially living with a bunch of other vets in this house in Jacksonville, North Carolina. I see where this is going, right? Anyway, we had this big old house party, everything like that, which is part of the course. We were young, and we were like in our young 20s and everything like that. Inviting people over. And I had this one guy. We used to call him. He called himself Korean Jesus, I should say, because he was a Korean man, but he also had like a really robust beard and long hair, and he'd often wear his robe around the house, so we called him Koreans.
Koreans.
It was sanctioned because he called himself that, so it was just our nickname. I had some unflattering ones, being the gay man in the house, and I remember one day we all just decided we were going to sit there and invite people over, get lit, get turned up, whatever the kids say nowadays. So I remember I was on my 19th screwdriver, I lost count, right? And I was like, I have to go to the bathroom, and my room had a bathroom attached to it, so I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I walk in, and Carizis in all his glory has found his own Mary Magdalene at the party, and is utilizing my bed. And I'm like, oh my God. I opened the door. I was so drunk, but I was also in a state of shock. I couldn't look away. It was like watching a train wreck.
Why would you look away?
About that time, he turns around and goes, "What's up, bro?" I'm like,
Hey.
I was little. All I could muster up was, "Hi, I have to go pee." He goes, "Oh yeah, it's your room, bro. Go ahead." And I just like, as I'm walking cut to about 5 minutes later, he's coming out of the bedroom with I don't even remember her name, but he comes out of the room with Mary Magdalene, and they both look at me and said, "Hey, we hope that you're cool with what happened." I was like, I'm in a state of shock still, because I just described to my roommates what's going on in my bedroom, which is I'm just like, I mean, can I really? Did you at least finish? Like, like. And he was like, "Oh yeah, man, it was great." And she's like, "Yeah, I gave you my number and everything." Swear to God, he looks at her and says, "No, it's cool."
Yes!
Damn.
Jesus will not be resurrecting today.
Needless to say, those sheets got thrown out. Like,
He will not come again.
it was, but that is my alcohol charged sex story. It's not even mine. I don't really have a lot of my own embarrassing sexcapades, but I've definitely walked in on a few people's.
You should have
like,
more sex.
It's like carry with me. Like, eventually, I will catch you in the act. I don't know, like, because it's not the only time it's happened. Like, in my bedroom, in my bed, with a roommate. So
what I'm hearing is that I need to visit.
it's like it doesn't matter where I live. It kind of defaults to like a dungeon. It wasn't Joe's, it was mine. Anyway.
All right, y'all. Well, I've got to go hang out with my wife. She is heading to Georgia this week, so I'm batching it, living a La Vida bachelor. So I'll be eating ramen and crying myself to sleep, and
dreaming about blowing on girls' faces.
But thank you both for joining me this week, and we'll be back next week on Facebook next week.
Hey,
the ban is over on the 8th, so I'll be
for now.
For now, yeah. Until
they go report one of your memes.
Until they find my other Dahmer memes that I put up long ago. But anyway, thanks everyone for joining us, and thanks to who is that made the comment earlier, Mr. Darkside 9117 or Dark Sage, I'm sorry, 9117 for his question tonight. And if you have any questions next time, feel free to drop us a line either on Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube or Facebook, and we'll be happy to discuss them on air. But thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you all next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.